Thank you all for coming to time out of your day. Listen to me. I thought that Ari, who's had experience in show business, would be speaking before me. And that would take away a little of my angst, but it's not meant to be. And I'm standing here in front of you. I have a lot of mices to tell, a lot of stories. But the full audio book of my autobiography, I don't think you're all ready to hear today, this morning. But I just want to give me siyata d'shmaya that whatever does come out of my mouth is the tayalas and the type. One thing I can say for sure, I can be made personally, about this seemingly mystical, magical kayach HaTorah, kol Torah that goes out from all mekanos HaTorah here in Cherry Hill, in Shalom, that the emes of that is hard for me to fathom sometimes. And I look back on the last little more than a year or so of my life, and I think when I'm standing up here, all of you can see right through me and know exactly where I was, because that's the person knows what's going on with them, where they've been. We don't know that people only see appearances sometimes, they don't know necessarily. But when I'm aiming to myself on where I was a little more than a year ago, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer with for any of it. I do know that it's a gigantic chesed of Rabbeinu Shalom B'roiv Chasdoi. I'm saying how on Lashpili Lirais Bashamai La'aretz Mekimi Me'afadol Me'ashpes Yorim Edrei. Feel literally the Rabbeinu Shalom took me and picked me up and just put me on another track without my hishtadlus, seemingly, when with Havana I was not sure of many things, but I was sure of a few things, and that was that I was never walking into the Kollel in Cherry Hill on the Landing Road every time I passed it for 7 years or so. And when a person could step back and see the way the Rebbeinu Shalom sometimes a little bit, we could be aiming on the way he lays tracks for us all along from years ago to get us to the point that we eventually get to. It can be a staggering feeling to be aiming on that. I want to talk about two things as well. One is tefillah, and the other is hashgacha pratius. Hashgacha pratius that I just mentioned, with pratim, sometimes down to the most minute, seemingly insignificant. Sometimes when I laugh at it, it seems like a silly detail. I was going to tell a story about a guy, but I think I'm going to tell a story about a yid instead. I was in yeshiva a long time ago. I was in a basement apartment, and the tribal guys lived upstairs in the basement apartment. I'd already checked out mentally from yeshiva, and I was on my way out, but mentally I was already out. The sleeping I did in the dorm, and it was the 2000s, and the internet, early 2000s, and the internet, and Tempur-Pedic mattresses were all the rage. It's a new thing. I became interested in this by not learning in yeshiva, and I ordered a sample. It's a new kind of mattress. You can order a sample of it. And they said they'd deliver it to you, and you could test out how great this mattress is. So I ordered it. We came to the dorm, and the Kol young man who lived upstairs got the mail. And he gave it to one of my roommates, and then he gave me the mail, and he said to me, Zalmy, here's the mail that you got. But you should know, Rabbi Sandler told me when he gave it to me, he said, Pasha the problem with Shmiras Einayim. It was a mattress sample, and whatever it had on there in the brochure, I was a little taken aback by what he said, and I said, I thought about it for a second, I started to laugh, I started to mock. I said, what? It's every day, if you go out into the world, you're going to see hundreds of things like this. This is what this fellow Yergaman is worried about. A brochure that I got, and I laughed inside. I left it certainly, and it became for many, many, many years a joke, a running joke with me and my friends, making my tzonis. It's Pasha the problem with Shmiras Einayim, anytime it was relevant. From there, I went off in yeshiva, and with every step I took the kavanah away from yeshiva, from anyone wanting to recognize me as someone who had once gone to yeshiva, to talk like a person who knows yeshivish language, anything, to be seen in the yarmulke, to be seen as a yid, was something that I was trying with every fiber. That's not something I want someone to mistake me for. It's not my identity. And so it went for many years. Test Nissan last year, I was playing softball Sunday morning, and a line drive was hit, one that in my athletic prowess, I can tell you with confidence, I've caught a line drive like that many, many times in my life. I've dropped some of them, but very easy, perfect sense, lined it up, hit very hard. I was all the way in the outfield, so Stevens hit very hard, plenty of time. The ball hit me square in my left eye. I was sure, just like I was so sure that I was never walking into the cuddle, I was sure that I was holding my eye in my hand. From the echoing crescendo of what I heard in my head, and what I felt in my hand, and the fact that it was complete chayshak, not blurry, just complete chayshak instantly. I said, okay, I'm holding my eye. Hang on to your eye. We gotta get to the yard. Soon I found that I wasn't holding my eye, but it was quite a dramatic emergency. I had complete darkness in my left eye, which you'd say, you could see with one eye. It's not so bad. It was, for an American boy, one eye was enough to, this was the end of the world. Besides for the echoing crescendo of the ball hitting me, I also heard something else in that moment. I heard a lot of things flashed before. But I also heard very loudly Rabbi Sandler appeared to me, and I think he became a Rav since then. And I heard him saying then, and over and over and over and over again since then, is Pasha the problem of Shmiras Einayim. And they kept echoing in my head. And I sat in bed for 2 weeks with a lot of tsar. Every time opening my eyes, seeing, am I going to see a little more? Every night I went to sleep. One of the lingering issues was that the pupil of my left eye stayed fully enlarged. It didn't react to light. So every night I went to sleep, and all I would think about is maybe I'll wake up tomorrow and we'll go back to normal. And it causes problems of vision, but it was also symbolic of that something had gone wrong with me, and I wanted everything to go back the way it was, everything before that. And every night before I went to sleep, I thought about this. My kids would come to the room in the morning and hold up their hands and say, can you see how many fingers? Can you see this? Is it still big? Is it still big? And it wasn't. Every morning it wasn't. I think after a period of time, after like 2 weeks, for some reason, I had an einfall that maybe I'm sitting in bed for 2 weeks. I had a sitter. Maybe I should say I'm out before I go to sleep. I took out the sitter. Even in the brief spurts when I did learn in yeshiva 20 plus years ago, davening was always something that was abstract, I'll say. Even if I understood some of the words, even if I had kavanah sometimes, it was the words and then it was what I was thinking. The connection between the two of them was not something I could usually feel palpably. Learning, I could connect to that at times. I was reading the words, and I was thinking
about? What am I thinking about? Please, Hashem, when I go to sleep tonight, when I wake up in the morning, my eyes should be back to the same size. And I read the bracha l'mapel, and the last words before we go to sleep is Ki ata amer le'ishan bas hayim, because you are the one who allows light to pass through the apple of the eye, the pupil of the eye. Which is symbolic of it getting, the night person goes to sleep and he's tired, his eyes are dark, in the morning Hashem lets him have rejuvenation and he wakes up and it's light again. And like many things over this past year, it hit me so hard in the face, like the ball, like those words, that for a second I was able to relate personally that these words that we say are not chas v'shalom abstract. They are exactly some zach of whatever a person is going through. I happen to fall onto one part of it for a moment that I could appreciate it. And since then, and to explain the maze of how I ended up at the Kollel on Cooper Landing Road throughout this process and all the steps that were laid, whether it's going to having my boys go to the yeshiva at the Kollel now, and having my son come home and say, I don't have tzitzis. And me thinking, oh, I knew it. I sent my kids here when I spoke to Rabbi Clark because all I wanted was to make sure they're not going to bother them with whatever stuff is going on in the world with COVID and safety and all these things, and that I knew there was a warm environment. And they ended up in a yeshiva, the one place that I said, my kids are not going to a yeshiva. That's one thing I know. I don't know where they're going, and the world's crazy, but not a yeshiva like I went to. And they ended up there. And even though I remember standing outside the Kollel when I met Rabbi Clark the first time, and I came out after talking to him, and I told him these are the things I care about in school. And none of them was frumkeit. I should have been embarrassed to say it at the time, and I think I only now can realize that. And I stood outside for a few minutes, and I looked up and I said, look, how am I here? I said, I'm back here? This is where I am? This is the place I said I wasn't never going to be. And then my son came home and said he doesn't have tzitzis to make a bracha on tzitzis. So get him a pair of tzitzis. And then one day, inevitably, he asked, okay, so where's yours? And one by one, I had to face all these things that were smacking me in the face at the same time. What was going on in my personal life, one after the other, was clapping me in the face. And I was zeicha to a year of so much hashkafa pratis and all these things. That I can't just, all I can say is to recognize it, and to speak it out, and to be makir toiv to the Kollel and Rabbi Clark and the Mishpacha. And I'm just one story like this. And since I've started coming there, I hear stories from all sides, and from a little place that I didn't even know what was going on there for 7 years. I would drive to the 70 every day to Mat, to go somewhere and pass it. And to hear the amount of stories that come out, you know, of a place that I didn't even recognize, one after the other, each one bigger than the other, it can't be explained with the Derech HaTeva. And it's obvious that the kayach, the kol Torah that goes out from there is what brings people in, whether they can hear it audibly or whether a neshama, to the call to the neshama. Sorry, I'm keeping you. I'm not a professional speaker. Listen. On the way over here, I wasn't sure what to speak about. Like I said, I have a lot of stories, and I wasn't sure. And was asking my wife for advice. And I was going to, like I said, I was going to tell a story about a guy that overthrew a car. And then I passed by, I was in Lakewood, already arriving in Lakewood, and as I was trying to decide, what am I supposed to say? I passed a sign that said, a shopping center, said Hassandler. Under it said, Godless Adam. So like everything in the past year, I said, Rabbi Shalom again, help me with my Kriya. This person, he doesn't even know. I once heard a person doesn't know who his Talmidim are. This person had no idea. He was just a younger man who was careful with Shmiras Einayim. He said to me, this question of problem with Shmiras Einayim. Did he know that years later, all these things that Rabbi Shalom did, that his words, his just simple, he's doing what's normal. This is not okay. He told the guy, he told me, and I made a joke out of it. That the godless Adam start from just that little thing, and everything that we do, or what can come out of it. Every way we treat someone, every way we act towards someone. During COVID, when I was in Lakewood, a couple of times, one time I just wanted to see people, nothing to do with wine, and I was allergic to going to a shul, to being around shopping with thousands of yidden, and that whole rush. But I found myself in the store in Lakewood on Thursday night, and walking down the aisles, and they have the music playing with the Hasidic adult singing with a duet with a Hasidic kid. And there was a Hasidic guy standing in the aisle picking out pickles for Shabbos, and he was saying out loud, he was trying to handle which pickles to pick out. I was wearing a baseball cap and a t-shirt. I was very into a certain gym back then, Attila's gym. It was a gym that stayed open during COVID, and they were fighting the government, and all kinds of political religions that I was drawn to at the time, not so long ago. And in a moment, I just stopped for a second. I felt a kesher to this person. I started singing along this song. He was singing a niggun. I said, here's a person what's he doing? He's just living life. He's going to pick up pickles Arab Shabbos for his family. And I felt, again, just a kesher to something that I was trying to run away from. A few weeks later, a similar story. I was in the grocery in Lakewood, and a guy, in my sloppiness, in a completely not crowded store, I knocked over the biggest display I could find, and it was all around. And a guy, a young yeshiva guy, came over, and he was standing down on the floor next to me and picking up one thing after the other with me until it was put back together. I don't know him. I don't know his name. And it could be another day, it wouldn't have had an impression on me. But when I look back, I think about every little thing that happened along the way. The person, we don't know what the one tenuah or one look or one thing we're going to do for a person, that's going to be the thing the person says, I'm never going back to anything to do with that. Is going to be to bring him over the edge, to the next step, the next step, the next step. In closing, I really wanted to attribute all of this, that all the things that the Rebbeinu Shalom set up, the Rav Chazdai and his Yoid Om Kumach Shoisecha, from the beginning. I just realized a few months ago that when I was 4 years old, I was playing across the street from my house on Shabbos, a swing. I was alone, must have been a toddler, a little older. A swing came and hit me, mamish in the same spot. I was bleeding a lot. And I remember running across the street, which I wasn't allowed to do, but I knew I needed to find an adult. I ran home, nobody was home. I ran to shul. My father was in shul, he couldn't come out right away, and I'm bleeding as a kid. And in the same exact spot, mamish. And I ended up getting taken by Tzala, went to a local Tzala guy, Yaakov Gofeder, and he said we should go to the hospital. They called the car. So I remember going in the car on Shabbos, and I remember I was blaming on the gravity of what I'm going in a car on Shabbos. And what's going on here? It's such a big deal. And then many years later, the same thing, the same spot. Also, he gave me pause, not even in a moment, but over time, to be ayman on the gravity of Shabbos, of every single other aspect of Yiddishkeit. In the same way the Rebbeinu Shalom took people, I don't think it's a stretch of a comparison. We're talking about the difference between mitzvahs and not. I took my grandparents in concentration camps and put people, put people on the line from who was going to death and who was going to live. And the Rebbeinu Shalom set up a Rabbi Klar and a kollel and things to be planted on Cooper Landing Road in the spot that it is right now. And for me to pass by every day and wave at it. That he decided that this person gets to live, this person gets to live. And how many more people are there like me, whether they have stories like me or different stories, different paths, but they all share one common denominator, one side of Shava. That as long as there's the Kol Torah, as long as there's a Koyach HaTorah, and as long as there's people doing it, whether they're physically going and pulling people in with their hands, or they're just sitting and learning, or doing whatever needs to be done at that moment, or helping someone pick something up off the floor at a grocery store, whatever it is, at that moment that they're supposed to be doing, that there's a chance for Klal Yisrael to be b'shalom and b'shleimus. And my tefillah is the Klar should be successful in continuing building the Kollel and Cherry Hill and all the kindness of Torah, and the school that my children are privileged to attend. And the Kol Torah should continue to go out, the Koyach HaTorah should continue to go out strongly, and it should bring us all to Shleimus and to be as a Mashiach. Amen.